Good morning, everyone. On April 12th, 2024, it's a Friday. Usually we have these midweek, but this time we're choosing a Friday. And as always, this is recorded. I know many are on spring break and finishing spring break and maybe coming up on spring break or those kind of things. But we chose today. It's following a superintendent's webcast as well. So we have a lot of important information this time. We always have good information, but this time was actually some very good end of year things that we need to pass along to you in our webcast. And we have, I think, 4 or 5 agenda items. And there we go. Dealing with ESSER and SAR and school report card and audit contract and SEEK and so we'll jump right into those because like I mentioned, we have a lot to go through today, and then we'll take up probably a lot of the time. And so this will be recorded. I'll send out the slides when we're done. They'll probably be Monday or so because part of the broadcast today is going to be mentioning some things on a website, and those are in the works. And so I'll probably wait until all of that is ready to go before I send all this out. So that being said, I will kick it off and pass it on to Robin Morley, who's going to give us an ESSER update. Robin?
Thank you, Steve, and good morning. Can you hear me okay? I know that's a trite way to start any Teams meeting.
Course. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for hopping on this morning. Appreciate everybody being here. Once again, I come with another ESSER update. Some of this is reminders of information that we've already shared, and then we have some new information as well. Next slide, please. In March, March 21st, actually, 2024, KDE received communication from the U.S. Department of Ed about something they've been mentioning as a requirement, but just got around to giving us their more specific information about requirements for recording and reporting if ESSER funds were used to acquire or improve facilities. This is new information. We have not shared it with you. I believe Matt Ross previewed it yesterday with the superintendents. So we wanted to come with the same information to you all today to make sure everyone has access to this, what we currently understand from U.S. Department of Ed. First of all, there is a recording requirement, and then there is a reporting requirement. Those are 2 separate requirements that they addressed in the same Dear Colleague letter. The first regarding recording. If you have spent $1 million or more of ESSER funds for renovation, remodeling, construction, or other real property projects, you must record a notice of federal interest by January 28, 2025. There are also circumstances where that also may be required if there was less than $1 million in ESSER funds invested. The reporting requirement is, and this is not limited by the $1 million, no matter how much money you spent, how little or how great, you must annually report to KDE, and this is the U.S. Department of Education's words, for at least the first 15 years about the status of the real property in which the federal government has made a monetary investment and therefore has an ongoing interest. So the recording requirement is you must file this notice of federal interest with the county clerk related to your deed for your properties. And then you must report to KDE annually on a larger population of the same facilities type work that may have been done. Next slide, please. Let's talk just a minute. Let's focus on recording, this thing called Notice of Federal Interest. And I will be honest with folks, the first time I saw those words, I had no idea what they were talking about. It's taken a lot of investigation, a lot of questions back and forth with the U.S. Department of Education, and we have received this final clarification, I believe, in response to questions that many states were asking and many local education agencies. So this is the description of projects that might be under $1 million, but would still have to have a notice of federal interest recorded. If the ESSER funds represent the vast majority, and that is their terms, the vast majority of the total value, then you must record a notice of federal interest, even if that amount is less than $1 million. The example given, a building with a total value of 1.5 million. If you use 900,000 in federal funds to maybe upgrade the HVAC system or replace the roof or whatever, add new canopies, whatever, even though the 900,000 is less than the $1 million threshold, you would have to record a notice of federal interest on the deed to this property. If the U.S. Department of Ed determines that a district is in high risk status, they may require a notice of federal interest to be recorded. And this is to protect the federal interest in the property from other liens that could prevent the building from being used for its educational purpose. And once again, all we have are the words in high risk status. I do not have a definitive definition of what that means to the U.S. Department of Education. We will be continuing to seek more guidance, but we wanted to get this information to you because there is a date certain by which these things must be recorded now, and that is January 2025. If the federal interest in the project is insignificant, but the project is, let me start that again. If the federal interest in the project is insignificant, but the project is even slightly above $1 million, if the federal interest is just slightly above $1 million, you still have to record the federal interest. So if you have a building with a total value of $100 million and you used $1,005,000, you have to record the notice of federal interest. Also want to be clear, this applies whether you've used ESSER 1, ESSER 2, or ARP ESSER funds in these projects. And we've included a link to the Dear Colleague letter that we received on March 21st with this language in it. Next slide, please. In order to record the federal interest, KDE has created a template. And the template itself, because we didn't know how to help districts do this. So we created a template, we did the research, we are offering it as a template to the districts, and we believe that the language in there meets the federal requirements. It will stipulate that the property cannot be used for any purpose inconsistent with the statute or any program regulations under which the property was acquired. It cannot be mortgaged or otherwise used as collateral without the prior written permission of KDE's Commissioner of Education. The federal government requires this, but they delegate the approval of mortgages and selling or disposal of the property to the state SEA commissioner. So the last point being, you can't sell or transfer this property to another party, again, without prior written permission of the Commissioner of Ed. Next slide, please. So that's all we have about the recording of the federal interest. The other related requirement is this annual report regarding property that has been acquired, improved, renovated, remodeled, whatever, with ESSER funds. Again, this is all ESSER funds, ESSER 1, 2, or ARP ESSER. And this is regardless of the amount of ESSER funds invested If you used ESSER funds to acquire or improve facilities, you must report annually to KDE for at least the first 15 years. That status report, there is a federal form that you have to complete every year. Every year you will do a cover page and this attachment A. And then if you receive prior written approval from the Commissioner of Ed to dispose of the property, then that 1 year you will also complete the cover page, attachment A, and attachment C. The specific submission process will be done via processes that are currently under development. We hope to have those complete next week. But several folks have been out for spring break and we have not been able to wrap that up at this point in time. Next slide. I think there's one more reporting slide. Yes. So in the intervening time, we're going to create a web page that has all of this federal recording and reporting information on it. It will have the KDE template and it will have these SF 429 reporting forms that are currently available on the grants.gov webpage. Until we finalize the location on the KDE webpage, you can either go to the grants.gov page, that is a hot link there, or you can send me an email, robin.morley@education.ky.gov, and I will send you the forms and the KDE template so that you can go ahead and get started on this process. We believe that the first set of reports are going to be due to KDE on or about June 1st, and then annually thereafter in that same time frame. So you'll see on the federal page here, there is a attachment B. We don't anticipate using that attachment B, but this is a screenshot of the federal page, so I couldn't get rid of it. There are instructions there. There is the cover page, the attachment A, and then attachment C that will be used when you dispose of the property. Next slide, please. That is all that we have for that new information. We also just wanted to share some additional information we've received from the U.S. Department of Labor about the Davis-Bacon Act requirements, and also just remind everyone, if you use ESSER funds for minor remodeling, renovation, repair, or construction contracts over $2,000, you must meet all Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements. And again, this is all ESSER funds, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ARP ESSER. You must include and have included the Davis-Bacon labor standards clauses and applicable wage determinations in your contracts, and the contractors and subcontractors must pay federal prevailing wage rates to their workers. One thing that we have been asked, and we did receive clarification and guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor, if you are paying your own employees working on construction, renovation, or installation initiatives, they are not subject to Davis-Bacon Act requirements. If you have questions about specific work, specific clauses or requirements, if you have a project that you paid with ESSER funds and you did not pay, you're not sure, or you know that federal prevailing wages weren't paid, the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division in Louisville is the place where you need to contact. KDE is a customer of theirs, just like you all are. We don't make those determinations, and quite frankly, we don't have a lot of visibility into their decision processes. So the best way for you to get information is to contact that U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division in Louisville. We included the phone number there. Next page, please. We wanted to share some examples of construction from the U.S. Department of Labor perspective related to remodeling, alterations, renovations, and repairs. That includes things such as preparing drawings and specifications for facilities, building, acquiring, altering, remodeling, repairing, or extending facilities, inspecting and supervising the construction of facilities, and things like assembling and installing playground equipment, HVAC equipment, laying flooring, fencing, security systems. Those are all examples of ESSER-funded Davis-Bacon activities that could require Davis-Bacon Act conformance if they cost more than $2,000 per contract. Next slide. Next topic, ARP liquidation extension. We talked about this last month. I just wanted to remind everyone, if you plan on seeking an extended liquidation period, seeking approval for an extended liquidation period, GMAP will open on May 6th for you all to begin submitting those requests. GMAP will close for your entry on July 1st. And at that point in time, any funds that you may be requesting an extended liquidation for must be obligated. So you have to have your contracts in place by July 1st if you're going to request a liquidation extension. That early timeline of July 1st is designed to allow KDE to submit our liquidation extension request to, we're saying September 4th, but we really need to get that to the U.S. Department of Ed about the 15th of August in order to allow the Department of Education time to review our request and our application and give us any feedback or approvals, so that if they don't approve your request, you will still have time to spend or otherwise allocate those funds. And just a reminder, if you are not seeking a liquidation extension, then those funds must be obligated by September 30th, 2024. So if you're seeking an extended liquidation, they have to be obligated by July 1st. If you're not seeking an extended liquidation, then they have to be obligated by September 30, 2024. Next slide, please. And these are reminders of what I just said. Without the approved liquidation extension, all the ARP ESSER payments must be made. You must do a federal cash request, submit that to KDE by November 15th, 2024. That's what we would call the standard or the routine liquidation period. If you have an approved liquidation extension, just as a reminder, you will have 18 months or until February 2026 to make those liquidations and request your final federal cash request. Next slide. And again, this is the chart that has been probably the most discussed in any meeting that I've had about liquidation extensions. And this is the chart that is from the federal government's 34 CFR 76.707. This describes from a federal government's perspective when funds are obligated. The important things to take away from this slide are the item identified as B, services provided by an employee of the district. Those funds are considered obligated when the services are performed. Therefore, with or without a liquidation extension, you cannot pay employees of the district with ESSER funds, whether it be wages, whether it be a stipend, any kind of payment, payroll-related payment to your employees after September 30th, 2024. And what I mean there is for time worked and you can pay it up until September 30, 2024. We understand that some districts pay payroll in arrears, a week, 2 weeks, whatever your timelines are. You can actually make the payment, but it has to, after September 30th, but it has to be for work performed on or before September 30th. Another line that gets a fair amount of discussion is travel. The federal government considers travel costs obligated when the travel is taken. Therefore, the same rule would apply. Any travel that actually takes place, not when reservations are made, but when the travel is taken after October 1st, you cannot use ESSER funds to pay for the travel cost. If any of you are paying for utility services with ESSER dollars, you cannot pay for utility services that are delivered on or after October 1st. The rest of these are related to primarily when you make a binding written commitment. When both parties, the district and the vendor, the service provider, whatever, are locked into a written contract, that is the date the obligation is made. That's why we're asking you have those contracts in place by July 1st. And then the absolute latest date to sign a contract and pay for it with ESSER funds is September 30th, if you're not seeking a liquidation extension. Next slide, please. Oh, and lastly, the FY23 ESSER district data collection is open now in GMAP. It will close on May 2nd for district reporting. As of yesterday about noon, we had 51 districts that have started their FY23 ESSER district data collection in GMAP. Just as a quick reminder, this is for reimbursements that you received. The current reporting period in this data collection is for ESSER reimbursements received between July 1st, 2022 and June 30, 2023. This is the same type of report that we have done in the past since the very first year that we received ESSER dollars. And KDE will be accumulating all of the district data that is submitted. And we will be submitting the state report on June 1st. So even though GMAP will close for your reporting on May 2nd, between May 2nd and June 1st, you may still hear from us with questions as we're validating, reviewing, and resolving any issues when we try to upload the data to the U.S. Department of Education. Next slide, please, Josh. There are, in this year's FY23, there are 4 new questions, new types of questions that have been added. In prior years, these were optional questions. We did not collect this information in prior years. We only collected what was mandatory for each individual year. We have, since the U.S. Department of Ed released these questions, we have asked in every conversation we've had with them that they not make these mandatory. And they did go ahead, though, and make these mandatory. Our request and the request of many other states did not prevail. So the new questions deal with expenditures by activity code. This is in addition to previous questions that covered expenditures by object code. We are asking for staff counts, either district-wide, and for the first time, there are some staff counts that they want by individual school. Please, if you have no staff of a particular type in a school, just leave that blank. There may be something weird going on in the system. We can't quite pin it down yet. But if you just leave the school counts that have no staff of that type blank, then we'll be okay. And then for also the first time, we're asking, there's an extensive section about student eligibility and participation counts. Those are 2 separate columns for a variety of predefined And it's a fairly lengthy list, predefined activities the U.S. Ed wants to know, eligibility to participate and participation counts. And this is for the life of the ESSER funds, again, 1, 2, and ARP ESSER. I think that might be the last slide, but please, yes. And if you have any questions about these, I've included everybody there that might be able to help you. So I'll take any questions now, or I'm going to hang on in case others want to drop questions in the chat, Steve. And that wraps me up.
All right. Thank you, Robin. And we currently don't have questions in the chat, but feel free to put those in there if they come to mind throughout today's webcast. And now we'll move on to a different topic, SAR and the cleanup of data. And for that, we have Rhonda Devine.
Hi, good morning. So we just had a few things that we wanted to remind everyone that it's really that time of year to make sure that all of your monthly reports are cleaned up and up to date, so that when you do your SAR submission, all of the information from Infinite Campus gets pulled in properly and is a true reflection of all of your attendance data as well as your transportation data as well. We now have the SAR application system in place, and if you don't have access to it, then Laura Lohman and I can help you with that. But you can see in the sample, it has the growth factor is highlighted, but when you open up the SAR application this time of year, it'll have the SAR will be lit up in green, and because that's the active report for this time. So, and then we also use this same system, of course, for growth factor and January growth factor. You can go to the next slide. And this is that district information, and it shows the users that are able to access the SAR application. Not anyone can just get in there and put in information. You have to have a approval. So if you have someone in your district maybe that's new that is going to be working with the SAR and they need access, again, you can just let us know. You might even have someone that has left and they're still showing that they're an active user. We can also deactivate that person from your district as well. You can go to the next one. So there's the new user tab, and when you put that information into the SAR application, it sends a note to myself and Laura Lohman, and then we will go in the system and activate that for you. So it's really a good time of year now to go into the system, just kind of make sure that everyone has access, that you want to have access, and just kind of getting ready for SAR so you don't have any last minute issues, and that you're ready to go when it's time. Next slide, please. So these are those monthly reports that really every month your district should be going in and making sure all of this information is clean. This is the time of year now to really go in and make sure that your ethnic count, your state enrollment overlap, all of these different reports are cleaned up. And even though full day kindergarten is still on our list, we still do have some districts that are doing either a mixture of both or half. So that's why we have that indicator. That's really for federal reporting that we need later. So just make sure that all that information, student schedule gaps, any overlapping T codes or missing T codes, as we've been talking about the T code comparison report. That report is a direct reflection of the students. Are they a T1, a T2, a T3, or they a T5 or not transported? So all that information is part of SAR. So you want to make sure that your you've checked that you don't have any overlapping T codes or missing, or even some that have end dated or not end dated. So those are those ad hocs that we have state reports that we push down to the districts, and you'll find them there. You can go to the next slide, Josh. And I think that's all for me.
All right. And our next guest is Jesse Carlton, who's going to talk a little bit about school report card.
All right. Hey, everybody. I am back. I'm going to harp on you a little bit more about school report card. We opened, I think, 2 weeks ago. So you've had 2 weeks to get in there and start looking around. I know a lot of districts were on spring break, so hoping maybe now we can roll back around. I will say I was very happy to see this morning we already have 36 districts who have completed. So thank you all that have heeded my warning that we needed to get rolling a little faster on this year. Just a reminder, 3 main things we need you to do: review that district level data, calculate the school level spending for student data and enter it, and create a financial narrative if you would like to put in there to be shown on the financial summary page. If there's anything kind of odd or interesting that's happened in your district that you need to explain in your financial data. All of this needs to be completed by Friday the 17th. I think that's 6 weeks from today. So still have 6 weeks to get this in. Just pushing, make sure we don't push it this year because we are switching vendors, and I don't know how much more time, if any, probably none, than we can get then the 17th. It'll probably close on us and we won't be able to make any changes. All right, do I have another slide, Josh? I think I have one more. Yep, this is just the link that everybody should have. I sent out an email. If you didn't get the email with all of the documents and the links in it, please reach out to me. I'll make sure you got it. If you need to add someone else, not just the finance officer or anybody else that needs this data, you're welcome to. It's also all on the school report card resource page. If you just type that right there into the KDE website SRC resource page, it'll pop up with all of the data I sent out. And the link at the top is where you go to actually access the data and see your data and input. If you don't have access, that's when you contact your WAPOC to make sure you have the correct role in People Role Manager. I think it's School Report Card District User role that'll get you access to see what you need to see on that side. And I think that's all for me. Just wanted a quick reminder, don't forget it's out there, and come into a close in 6 weeks. There's my email and phone number if you need me. I'm passing off to, I don't know who.
Marshall.
Marshall.
So, we have a new audit contract to provide everyone, and Marshall's going to give us a few tips on that for the upcoming audit year, and I'll pass it along to Marshall Smith.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Next slide. There we go. Wanted to let everyone know the window for the audit acceptance statement is going to open on the 15th, which is Monday. That will open up, and we'll have the web page at that point updated for everyone that will have the new audit contract on there. Then May 31st is when that will be due back to us completed. The window for that audit acceptance statement will close. Like I just said, you'll need to have that signed audit contract back to us by then. And we'll also have to have any peer review documents needed for the audit firm. We generally do track that ourselves, and if we need them, we contact the firm. But want to let you know that is required to get back to us by then. If we do have trouble getting any of them, we will reach out to you and let you know. Then on June 30th, you'll get notification whether the state audit committee has approved or disapproved that contract. And then also a reminder, October 1st will be the deadline for submitting an extension if you're not able to get the audit completed by the deadline. So just a reminder about that date. Next slide, please. The next slide. It looks like I froze on my end. Can you guys still hear me?
No, we got
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you. I think Josh may have been the one that froze.
Okay.
Give me just a second. Let me see if I have. Oh,
There
there we
we
go.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Some changes. We have made some changes to the audit contract to better facilitate being able to get electronic signatures and transport the document electronically to get out of that printing and scanning that we've been doing. First Monday, when you go to our website, the first thing you'll notice is that now we're going to have two different links. Traditionally, the audit contract, the audit requirements, and the actual audit contract have been combined into one document, one link. We're going to split that up. We're going to have one link with the requirements. Read through those requirements. I think you're going to find there's not a lot of significant changes from last year's requirements. But there will be a second link with the actual contract in it, and that contract's usually about 4 pages, 3 or 4 pages. That'll be the section that we actually need back to us. And we made it 2 separate links because that requirements section is about 30 pages, so we wanted to split that up, make a smaller file. Here on the page, I have a couple of screenshots from the contract. We put in some drop-down forms and some text boxes to help facilitate being able to fill this document out electronically, sign electronically. So eliminate that printing, manually filling out, signing, and then scanning back in. So that's just a couple of screenshots. What you see is not any major format changes, just helping be able to fill that out electronically. Next slide. Now I have changes up here, but this really isn't a change. The same thing it was last year. We're letting every district determine the effective date of the contract. And so I forget which page of the actual contract this is, but you'll see with the date with the text box there noted. You have to fill in the date that you want the contract to be effective for your district. The effective date needs to coincide with when your firm is actually going to begin their procedures for the audit. Some firms, for some districts, I think they begin in April, May. Some are waiting later, September, August, September. So fill in the appropriate date for your district. Just don't forget it. If you forget it, we're going to turn around and send it back to you and get it filled in for it to be a complete contract. Next slide, please. And then while I have you here, I wanted to give a couple other reminders. June 1st, we are going to open the window for the fidelity bond. That's where you reported to us the bonding amounts for your financial staff. There is a exposure report that we produce that shows the statutory minimums for the bonding amounts. We'll have those on our website by the end of this month. And then we also have instructions on how to do the fidelity bond process on that fidelity bond webpage. Also, June 1st, the window opens for the pledge of collateral. That's the insurance on your bank accounts for the amount in excess of the FDIC coverage of $250,000. That window opens June 1st. We also have instructions on that webpage, and all the information for both items are due back to us by July the 1st. And if you have any questions on those 2 items, you can reach out to Jackie Chisholm or myself. We'd be glad to help you. And that's all I have for mine. So
all right. Thank you, Marshall. And next we have some information on Seek Forecast. And for that, we're going to have Crystal Smith and Jay Ritter.
Hi, good morning, guys. I just wanted to take a moment and let you all know that we have posted a draft version of the 24-25 Seek Forecast. The draft that we have posted is based on the current budget bill that's not yet been finalized, and the numbers are used to calculate SEEK that could possibly change. Some of the updates that are on that 25 SEEK forecast is the per pupil amount of 4,326. The transportation funding is currently funded right now at 74%, which is based on the 25 budget appropriation for transportation and the March 1st, 2024 unprorated transportation calculation, which as you all are aware, it really increased to 484. So that's where we get that 74% funded. Tier 1 has also been proposed to be increased to 17.5. It is reflected in the draft version. This December 1 exceptional child counts are been updated on there as well. Those numbers are from your December 1, 2023. And then also we've used your trended data, which was submitted by most districts, and that included your ADA, your assessment, at-risk, home hospital, and LEP. We've also updated the nickel equalizations to either 25% for new nickels or the older nickels up to 100%. And of course, the statewide equalization has also increased to $1,211,000. And you'll see that on your SEEK one pager, kind of on the very bottom, on the right hand, in the bottom. So the data used to determine the 24-25 SEEK forecast, which is the trended, was provided to by your district. I think we had around 29 districts who did not submit trended information. So we had to use some of our calculations in-house. If you would like to make any changes prior to the budget bill being finalized, feel free to send me an email and we can change some of the data. And I think that's basically a big overview. Chad, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Do we have any questions out there? All
None
right.
that I see at the moment.
All right. So yeah, so take a look at your SEEK one pager. Again, it's a draft version. If there's anything that you have questions about, feel free to give me a call. Just make sure you're comfortable with it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, there was one question in the chat, and it was really an individualized question. So Robin answered that one. And I don't see any other questions in the chat at the moment either. So like I said, this is being recorded and we'll send that out for those who want to see this again, and for those who were not able to attend today, and also the PowerPoint as well. So thanks again for joining us, and you all have a good weekend. Thanks a lot.